How's it going, guys? So, one more video before we jump into the Royal Rumble later on. That video will most likely be for tomorrow, but we got a new trailer today for WWE 2K22, and I had to take a look at it because this looks quite phenomenal. Now, there's something interesting to talk about here right off the bat. They say right here, if you look down here in this text, it says contains a mixture of gameplay and cinematics. And unlike the other trailer that we looked at, like what was that, like a week or two ago, this is not like mixed in with any kind of like commercial, like humorous type of things or little advertisements. This is mostly just a straight gameplay trailer. You're just seeing gameplay and cinematics, and we know what the cinematics are usually. We've seen them ever since the SmackDown versus Raw games. You know, they use the in-game graphics still, but sometimes they may appear to be slightly different than like when you're playing a match per se. So, but it's not like it's like a CG cutscene or anything like that. So, just to get that out of the way, but we saw some pretty good. The gameplay here, it definitely looks different than 2K19, and 2K20 seemed pretty similar. I've actually, I just want to put it out there, I've never actually played 2K20. I know it's bad, but that's why I don't really go out of my way to say like how terrible it was, because first of all, I wouldn't buy a bad game like that. And second of all, you know, I don't think it's fair to comment on something that I've never actually played. So, you know, I played 2K19. I know that's good. I know a lot of people weren't too crazy about the direction that Ukes took WWE games. I know there's a lot of people out there who consider 2K14 to be the last great WWE game. I know there's a lot of people out there that consider Here Comes the Pain to be the last great WWE game. Some people still say it's No Mercy. I for a time thought that, but you know, we got to be quite honest. This looks like a very good game, and I got to be honest with you. If you're saying this game does not look good, we're going to go through it here. I don't know what to tell you. First of all, we got Rey Mysterio. I mean, this just absolutely looks phenomenal. I mean, this is the cover guy, so like they got to make sure they make the guy on the cover look really good. But everyone looks pretty good here. I mean, we've got Sasha Banks. We saw her in the last trailer. Not a bad model, I guess. Roman Reigns just looks simply incredible. I mean, there's a lot of detail. I believe, is this Humberto Carrillo? I think so. I'm kind of surprised they even featured him in the trailer. We see Sasha Banks again. Like, okay, right here, not so good. I gotta tell you, and I'm gonna show you Charlotte in a few minutes. I didn't like the way she looked either. Ray on the top rope here, looking really good. You've got Drew McIntyre. They definitely fixed the goofy facial expression, unless they're just not showing it. I think The Rock looks really good. Looks better than he did in 2K19. I've seen screenshots, like some gameplay footage also of 2K20, just how horrific he looked. You know, also The Rock, a lot of times didn't look great in a lot of the older WWE games. Like, I'm going to be quite honest with you. I've been playing SmackDown versus Raw 2007, and looking at The Rock's classic, you know, character model where he still had his hair, he didn't look that great in that game. He also didn't look that great in 2011. So he didn't always look that good in all these WWE games, where people, I think they've got their nostalgic goggles on. Going back and playing those old games, like, I have to be quite honest, like, they weren't always that great looking. Like, a lot of people saying that 2K14, you know, it's about gameplay, I get it, but sometimes the graphics were kind of lacking in that. And, you know, my favorite WWE game is No Mercy. So, but there's just something to be said about that. How people talk about how great these older games were, and they definitely were. But there's certain things I will even get into my retrospective on 2007 that I just didn't really like too much. I know that might be an unpopular opinion, but I think a lot of people haven't really played that game in a long time. But that's enough about 2007. I think Asuka looks really good here. This obviously looks like it's part of her entrance. I skipped over Stone Cold. They show him really quickly, but he does look good. And I'll be honest, I think in a lot of games, Stone Cold really looked like trash. And I even pointed that out in my 2010 review. I said, like, I didn't like how Austin looked. Becky Lynch looks really good. Old cringy Lynch is looking pretty good there. And we've got Big E with his mouth open. We'll get to Brock Lesnar in a minute. Yeah, Big E, kind of like a goofy pose there, but we've got Brock Lesnar looking incredible. I'm very happy he has the updated top knot and everything. You know, you can see this was in the last trailer. Here he looks just, this facial expression he's got going on here, that looks dead on to me. I like that they have the really big, gigantic Tron behind them. It's updated, definitely. So everyone's concerns about things being updated in this game. I don't really care if a few wrestlers that were released are on the roster. Like, I don't get it. Like, do people want there to be this? Okay, here, so we just happened to come upon the Charlotte. This face right here, this looks even worse than the Sasha model. I don't know why, because in 2K19, she looked better than this. She definitely looked better than this. This is definitely taken from an entrance. We saw Matt Riddle there just a moment ago. We can't really see him too well. Ricochet looks really good. Seth Rollins looks spectacular, as does Knocker Murphy. They don't show Boogs here, but if they've got the full Boogs entrance, that will just look awesome. Like, can you imagine? I really, really doubt it. But if they've got McAfee still marking out at the announce table, like, if they could get that in the entrance and get Boogs to go on top of the table and play the guitar, I mean, I'll be marking out for that, totally. The Usos look really good. We see them. They're having their 135th match against New Day, of course. Like, I know that's the first thing I'm going to do when I fire up this game. I'm going right into the exhibition matches. I'm creating a tag team match, and I'm doing Usos versus the New Day. You know me, guys. Like, yeah, hell no. We see Bayley versus Sasha, which is a match I probably won't be playing. I don't remember Sasha doing a C4, like the flip rock bottom, but she has the move here, and they showcase it here in the trailer. We see this, like, I don't know, this kind of looks like a cinematic to me. It's very, very hard to tell because, like, this, just this whole thing, like, even some of it, they said some of it is gameplay. It looks very cinematic, but I think maybe they're just playing around with the camera angles. Here Reigns just looks, again, spot on. We see him creaming Big E in the face there. This backstage bit here with Drew and Lashley, this also looked really good. Let's be perfectly honest, the environments, they look pretty much the way they always have since, like, the SmackDown versus Raw days. That has not changed at all. Lashley looks good here. The model looks definitely better than how it was in 2K19. I don't know how he looked in 2K20. I think almost everyone in 2K20 looked worse than they did in 2K19 if they were in that previous game, and most were. This cage match also really caught my eye. I know that this was like a recent Raw match, but also looks like the cage just looks a little bit more defined than it did in the previous games. Like, I don't know, this has to be, to me, this has to be like a cinematic. I don't know, just some of the stuff, you could just tell the way how it moves but not all of it is. And if it ends up that it's not, I don't know who this is here in this snapshot. Like, is this supposed to be... that can't be Alexa Bliss. I don't know, like, who wears that, or that's, like, is that Liv Morgan? We know that's Rhea Ripley, but I can't tell who she's throwing through the table. I guess, oh, that is Alexa Bliss. Okay, I could kind of see it a bit more there. We don't really know how she looks. Sami Zayn here. Looks like Zayn's hair is not quite where it should be. Here you can see a better shot of Ricochet. Ricochet looks just about as good as he did in WWE 2K19. He also looked really good. You know, I played with him a little bit when I was doing the 2K towers. So, you know, I did get quite acquainted with the way his model did look. Here we've got Damian Priest. Sheamus right here. This looks like this is probably gameplay. You know, the one thing I gotta say that they've never fixed, the crowd. I mean, look at it. Like, does it look like the crowd has really been updated for the modern era? So there's just like certain things that's funny. It's like, okay, we can't blame this on the new developers because this is how it's always looked. And sometimes it's just inexcusable because right now we have, you know, the PS5, we've got the Xbox Series X out. So like, are we honestly now saying that this is the best we can do? I mean, we've seen crowds, I'm telling you, that have looked like this since SmackDown versus Raw, like 2007. That was the first Xbox 360 game. So it definitely looks on par with that. I gotta say, the Edge model, Rollins and him look really good. Like, these models are spot on, and I gotta tell you, Edge in 2K19, if you go and you watch my retrospective that I have here on this channel, I talked about just how horrible his character model looked. And the fact that someone actually put a call up of him, and I downloaded and actually ended up looking better. Like, someone actually sat in the Creator Wrestler, which are tools that are given to you by by the developers, that were given by Ukes to create these characters. Now I know some people scan certain things into the game to help out, you know, certain images, and they might apply it to the face. But yeah, and you could also do certain like facial uploads as well. And the thing is, whatever it was, like, this person actually managed to make a Edge that looks superior to something that the developers put in the game. That, to me, is really inexcusable. But thankfully, they've touched him up here. And I think the thing was, I don't think he was face scanned ever. Here, this is obviously a callback. I don't know which event we're looking at here. Is this WrestleMania 21? I guess it would have to be. So yeah, it's Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio in their match against each other. I don't remember what he wore. I don't really remember him wearing a shirt during their match. Brock Lesnar versus Drew McIntyre. Once again, the Brock model looks good. The Drew McIntyre model looks good. Looks like it has been touched up, or at least they fixed that entrance that I spoke about before with the goofy face. Undertaker. They keep showing a lot of Undertaker, so like, I don't know, do they have like a surprise mode plan for him? I know that they have that new edition that they're putting out, like that special edition with the various Undertaker attires and different eras of the Undertaker. So I guess so, that's promotion on that. You know, but the one, yeah, they didn't promote the NWO thing. I gotta say, like, I am really disappointed that the NWO For Life edition is only digital. Like, do these people realize how many physical copies that they could sell? You know, if they put that as a as an actual physical edition, I don't think they do, because otherwise they would have, because I would have purchased it in a heartbeat. I mean, I think that it the NWO is very appealing to buy like a special edition like that. I'm a little disappointed they didn't show off their character models here, but overall very impressive. Let me know what you think down in the comments down below. I get that people are skeptical because 2K20 was a giant dumpster fire and all that, but I mean, should we really be that critical of them after like one bad game? We've seen developers actually get on YouTube. One specifically, I don't know the guy's name, but he talked about it, saying about like how he was rushed. They had like no time. They switched developers like at the last moment, and they all had to scramble to try to do what they could to get 2K20 out on the market and get it in like a somewhat releasable state, I guess. But I don't know. I think they're gonna do a lot better this time around. I don't think they're dumb enough. I mean, after all this time, that's the funny thing. People are like, "Oh, why are we not seeing a lot of this?" What notice I kept quiet about it because the thing is, like, you can't demand that they make this game better and then you get mad at them when they need a little bit extra time, because we've seen this even with other games other than wrestling games. You rush the game's gonna be fucked up. I mean, did we not learn from like Cyberpunk and everything? Games need time, and I get it. Us as consumers, we want to consume it and play it as fast as we possibly can. No doubt about it, I can relate to certain games that, I've looked forward to in the past. You want to play them, but you want to play them to the best that they could possibly be. And if they rush through this, then it'd be a 2K20 disaster all over again. We wouldn't want that. Anyone rooting for the game to be successful wouldn't want that either. So I don't really get that argument. It's like all things. It never makes any sense that you'd want them to give you this game sooner, but it would end up being the same disaster as last time. The whole point of why things are bad all the time is because they're rushed, because they can't tweak it, they can't play test as much as they are. Now, if this game ends up being a disaster, then I could see going forward that we are, very critical of them without a doubt, to put it mildly, because they did have a lot of time with this after 2 years. And, they do have the template. Like I've said, they've been building off of the same SmackDown 1 template since the PS1 days. So, everything has just been pretty much gradually building off of that. And we've changed some things around, tweaked a bunch of things. And so, yeah, I am, I'm just being like cautiously optimistic about this game. Because, like I said, 2K19 was a good game. 2K20 obviously wasn't. And I think that, they're going to learn from their mistakes and give us a pretty decent game. But let me know what you think down in the comments down below. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bells to get notifications when I post all my new videos. I thank all my patrons for your continued support. Thanks again, guys. I'll see you next time.